Listening to this, and again, I think why it's so critical for our listeners and others to get a better understanding of this is because, again, most people just think about uh, goods and services magically appear. Sometimes they think, well, maybe a storm delay or something else. But in fact, that there is this very necessary ecosystem of transit that enables this to happen. But again, one of the things that it does come out is listening to your descriptions. How all of this is coming together is that all of the talk last year that COVID represented the death of globalization. This was the international trading order was fracturing. Uh, in a sense of we would stop having these interconnections, and it sounds that COVID has been a shock, but the industry is adapting. Climate is an issue, the industry is adapting, and instead of the people who said these are the things that are going to stop globalization, pandemics, climate, fuel costs, changing consumer demand. In fact, what the picture you're presenting to us is that the system is adapting, and that it is showing a degree of resilience with these challenges, and that the way moving forward is not to say stop. We're not going to stop people buying goods that are made in a global supply chain. They're not going to give up uh, produce that is not immediately in season in their specific area, but will continue to use these supply chains to get fresh produce from one part of the world where it's in season to parts of the world where it isn't. And instead, we're going to adapt rather than to change. Is this as you look forward? I mean, is this the trend that you're observing of this adaptation, resilience, but really with the end that globalization continues forward rather than stopping in its tracks?
Very much so. I think that that shipping is basically the facilitator also in terms of the climate impact. You mentioned the fact that if we should only eat, say, vegetables or fruits which are in season in our local country, I mean, what would happen? Consumers would have an outcry if they could not get them throughout the year. And if the alternative to shipping that kind of goods, those perishable goods on container ships to the say the Walmarts or the Tesco's around the world would be to heat up a local greening facility or greenhouse. That would really mean greenhouse gases in its most literal way. So I think that we should basically re-embrace globalization, and I can only say that there's also a need for that, because any crisis, this includes COVID, of course, have really made politicians look much more inward. They have been, say, more nationalistic across the globe, and they have, of course, looked at their own voters and shied away from being, say, the statesmen of the world, trying to do big trading agreements with global trading partners. But we really need to do that, and I think geopolitics is at the center of attention, at least for the analysis that I do on a daily basis, trying to focus and imagine how will global economic development impact shipping and trade going forward? How will geopolitics either facilitate or put up obstacles to trade going forward, due to the fact that politicians on a global scale perhaps start to dislike one another for any good reason or any bad reason? But it remains a fact that the more reliant we are on one another, the less likely a real war is also. Not only talking about trade war, but if we recall why the European Union was set up in the first place, it was set out of coal and steel because those were the ingredients behind any war, warmongering nation. They needed the fuel, they needed the steel, and then they could build an army. So the EU is basically a project of peace, and built on the idea that the closer we tie each other's economies, the less likely we go to war. And well, many years down the road now, what a success. So I can only encourage world leaders to make sure that they remain tied closely to one another economically, politically, mentally, in any way, in order to make sure that we reap the benefits of globalization, that we make sure that some of those great thoughts of economic economists and thinkers of past centuries, where the division of labor and the say the distribution of capital is well thought of. I mean, you should produce goods where it makes sense and then trade. You should not, as an individual country, try to set up everything in your own backyard. If you try to do that, you will only get more costly goods of a lower quality and with a less selection. Would you like that? No.